be real with me. Tell me the truth. How you guys do it? Because I came from a practice company that did final expense, and the top guys were 6, 7, 8 families a month, 10 families a month. You're killing it. 15, 20, rare air, period. And there was not that many people even close to that. And so I'm like, I'm seeing these numbers. I said, this is, I said, they actually start to add up. I'm like, wait a minute. How are you guys doing this? And you said, and you were just like, I don't know. I guess we just work harder than everybody else. I don't know what else to tell you. And I'm like, he does not care whether I'm on this team or not. I like that. What's going on? There's something here they're not telling me, and I'm going to figure this out.
My good friend, Quentin Kelley, all right, he's here in Atlanta where I'm at. And we've actually known each other for a little while. We worked together in a previous practice company, and he's gotten started. He's 3 months in, just had his biggest month ever. And I gotta say this just in front of everybody, because I haven't told him this, right? So when I first got started in FFL, he was one of the people that I wanted to bring in this business the most, because he's a super solid guy, like always on point. Every time, he's actually dressed down right now. Like, this guy will get on Zoom with a shirt and tie. I don't know why, but he always looks good, smells good, sounds good. And I'm like, I really want this guy on my team. But like, under some circumstances, you know, like, he's very analytical and he's super sharp. I just kind of let him watch and be, and we had a couple conversations, and eventually we got to work together. So I'm so glad that you're here. Quentin, how you doing, man? Oh, unmute.
Doing good, man. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. That's good. I didn't tell you that ever, so the secret's out.
Yeah, the secret's out. We're all hearing this at the same time. I'm like,
I know. Exactly.
Oh,
We'll appreciate you taking the time. I know you're out of town with the family right now, but appreciate you hopping on. And I know, just from conversations that we had and hearing you actually in action, dialing on the phone, closing sales, I know that there's going to be things that you share, because I've heard them that have helped me on this call. So I'm excited for everybody to kind of hear what you have to say. So if you could just kind of let everybody know, what was life before this, kind of what are some of the things that you've done leading up to getting started with FFL.
All right, cool. Well, thank you for once again letting me be on here today. It is a privilege. My background, I've been in sales since I was 20, so about 20 years now, right? 24 years. And started off with door knocking on security systems, trying to sell security systems, went to cell phones, sold cars, and then eventually got to the point where I got into insurance. That was working out really well for me on the P&C side, property and casualty. And I'm like, okay, great, this is good and all. But when the pandemic hit, I started working more with FE, with final expense, with a practice company. And it was okay. I mean, I was making what I thought was amazing money for them. But when the pandemic hit, most of my clients did not want anybody in the house. So I went over to a company where I met you, Josh, and did okay for a while. And it was good. I was making good income. I was completely doing it from home. I was bringing a lot of friends, family, that kind of stuff into it, until that starts to wear off and you start seeing some cracks in the system. The more successful I was getting, the more I was being scrutinized, and I'm like, I'm not getting this. Why are you doing that? And but you weren't even on my team, and you would call me up, hey, how things going? You're doing well, blah blah blah. So I was like, man, he's a solid guy. And you left I'll call that the practice company, right? You left there, and I'm like, this man doing all right here. Why did he leave? And I call, and you were good. You're straight up. So if anybody from that practice company is watching this right now, you kept, hey, doing some different things. All right, cool. Called you up about 2 or 3 months after that. No, about almost a year, because I'm watching you on here. Everybody's talking about these families and stuff they're helping. And you said, I said, why did you leave? And he goes, because I don't know if I can say this or not, but you said, I decided I wanted to become a millionaire in less than 20 years. And I was like, what? I decided, he might have even said like 3 or 4 years. And I'm like, this man, he has drank some Kool-Aid. But those words kept resonating in my head. I'm looking at my bank account, it's turning funny colors. And I said, you know what? Look. Let me just see if a quarter of what he's saying is true. It will change my life financially. And I know I could help people, because life insurance has always been my first love. When I got into life insurance, period, I came in for auto and home, but found out how life insurance worked and always loved to do it. But I could never find enough people to talk to. Right? I could never get somebody. I talked to all my friends. I talked to all my family. I've already burnt them on 20 other lists I had already had them on. So they weren't buying it. Even if it was the best thing in the world, they were like, it got to the point, what are you selling now, Quentin? But you guys had some things over here, and
yeah,
the rest of history, right?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Appreciate you sharing that with me. This is kind of fun. So, all right. So we had a conversation right before you got started. And I remember it went something like, all right, hey, I'm seeing all these people, helping 30 families a month on and beyond, right? Just crazy numbers. How are these numbers so big? I haven't seen people sell numbers like that. And, I started saying, well, we have high comp, and explain the high comp, and we have all these leads. And you're like, yeah, I get it. Leads, high comp, but no. Like, how were people selling so much? And we went like around and in circles. And at some point, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I'm like, I don't know, man. I think we just work really hard. I think we're just working harder than everybody. So what was your side of that conversation? What were you thinking then? And then now that you just had your biggest month, you sold about 30 families. You tell me, how did you sell so much?
Well, let me tell you something, okay? I'll tell you what got me the most about our conversation is you did not seem like you cared whether I jumped on or not. It almost was to the point like I was taking up your time, which I'm like, wait, hold on. Do you know who's on the other side of this phone? Come on now, man. Be real with me. Tell me the truth. How you guys do it? Because I came from a practice company that did final expense, and the top guys were 6, 7, 8 families a month, 10 families a month. You're killing it. 15, 20, rare air, period. And there was not that many people even close to that. And so I'm like, I'm seeing these numbers. I said, this is, I said, they actually start to add up. I'm like, wait a minute. How are you guys doing this? And you said, well, we got high comp. You can have the highest comp, but if nobody's listening to you, it doesn't matter. Because usually with high comp means no one helps you. No one's telling you anything because you got the high comp, right? Then you tell me it's we got a ton of leads. Leads, no matter what industry you're in, okay, leads, you're like, okay, man, great. You guys have some company you work with, and you're pushing leads on me. I haven't even gotten started. All right, whatever, man. But then you were like, that's when you got frustrated, and you were just like, I don't know. I guess we just work harder than everybody else. I don't know what else to tell you. And I'm like, he does not care whether I'm on this team or not. I like that. What's going on? There's something here they're not telling me, and I'm going to figure this out. And I don't even know if I signed up right then and there. I think I called you back. I don't remember. You probably remember better than I do. It's kind of a blur now. But I said, let me just see. Let me just see. And I told him, and I remember calling you and said, look, Josh, I'm doing auto insurance. I'm doing home insurance. Might be doing Medicare during AEP. This is going to be my little side thing. So don't be calling me for any rah-rah sessions. I'm not here for any meetings. I'm not going to your conventions. Just let me sell some leads, and it'll be a good supplement for the company. And you did your patented, yeah, no problem, cool, yeah, no problem. That's the Josh. Anybody knows the Josh triple, yeah. Yeah, no problem.
Wow.
And then the rest is history, man.
I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot about myself. Incredible. Okay, so you got started, and right. So and we'll get to like what's going on right now, but how was it for you starting out? Kind of let everybody know. Did you jump right in, crush it right out of the gate? Did how much did you put in leads? Did you just go all out? Like, because I know, but
No,
everybody else doesn't.
yeah, but no, I didn't. I didn't crush it. I did not crush it because I jumped into telesales because I'm figuring I saw a video by Candy Hooder, and I'm like, I could do what she's doing, just duplicate da 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 da. But what I did is I bought just enough leads to be unsuccessful. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
I bought just enough leads to be unsuccessful. I said, I'll buy this much leads. I think I did like $300 worth of leads, and that's 100 leads. I got them from the CRM, and I think they were even 3-month-old leads. And I said, look, I'll try these out. I'll see what happens. Well, I got on the live calls with you guys. I kind of unmuted every once in a while. It didn't come out the gate strong. No, I'll tell you that straight off the bat. I did not come out the gate strong, which for me, it might have actually been advantageous for me because it made me realize, because if I came out the gates crushing it, doing the wrong things, I'd be in a bad position right now. Right? I would have been too cocky. I wouldn't have had to learn. I wouldn't have been humble. The shirt says hungry and humble, right? I was hungry and I thought I was humble, but I was humble enough to stay in my comfort zone and be humble. Does that make sense?
No, that's
And so I decided, let's do this. Because I made a little bit of money, and that's the dangerous thing about being a part of FFL. You can be horrible at this and make more than other places that you've been. You might be able to help more families than in other places, being not that great at it. But it was enough that it changed already. I was seeing some financial changes, and I got comfortable month 2 and month 3 with what I was doing. I was helping like 7, 8 families, something like that. And so, I started talking to people and started seeing people on the phone, and I would get disgruntled because I was getting hung up on. It wasn't working. And what happened was I started talking to people and asking questions. Candy would be on. Poor Candy, who's trying to help 50 families a month. And I'm like, hey, by the way, Candy, I see you just got off the phone. Can I ask you this and this and this and this? And she was nice enough to help. But when you're in the mindset of helping 50 families a week, you're not. She took the time. Now, I even looking at it now, what she gave me was exceptional, right? Because she took the time. You guys took the time. I started seeing, and I will tell you this, if you can get on a live dial session, this is one of the things that really helped me out, especially if you're in telesales. I saw you, Jamie Cheerio, his name Pete Unger, he's on there, and some other people that I saw on podcasts, YouTube videos, and stuff like that get hung up on. I mean, just obliterated. And I was like, oh, that's going to knock him out for the day. And Jamie would call him back and say, excuse me, why'd you hang up? And I was like, that's strong. I saw you on the phone one time and the lady just was like, I didn't do this, da 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 da. And I'm like, oh, hang up, next person. And you talked to her for about 15 minutes until she said, you know what, let's just take a look at this. I saw, I think his name is Pete Unger. Is that his name? Mm-hmm. This guy was, once again, he got I heard him just got hung up on one after the other. I'm like, oh, this new guy is really trying. And then I found out this guy is that's helping tons of families. And I'm like, oh, it's okay to you're not doing it wrong. You're just not doing it enough. You're not getting it. You got to have a certain amount of these going through to help the families, you know? And that's when I said, okay, I'll buy more leads. And then you start talking to me about lead flow. And, I watched the boot camp. I don't care what anybody said. They watched that boot camp to hurry up and get through the videos. And maybe it's just me, right? But I hurried up and got through the videos just to say, hey, can I go ahead and start moving some product here, right? But I started buying more leads. I started hearing more no's. I was on the phone more consistently. I got a schedule. I put together goals. I tracked my stuff. But that also came from you telling me things and listening to other people say things and watching podcasts and watching the different things that you guys are doing with the FFL training that allowed me to understand, here's the biggest thing. This is the biggest nugget I got. FFL does not want salespeople. FFL gives us the opportunity to own a business and agency. So when they're talking about doing all those families, it's not just so that these people are making exceptional incomes or what have you, but instead the income is in order to build a business of people who can also touch families, actual family, more families than one person can. And the only way you're going to do that, and I got this from the integrity meeting that you got me to go to, fly down to Boca Raton. Man, I don't know how you got me to do this stuff, but go down to Boca Raton. But they just explained that we got to help more families. If you're not helping enough families or you're not successful, people aren't going to want to follow you into this. And it made me think back to our original conversation. If you weren't successful, I wouldn't have talked to you to come into this. And it's changed my life. And I said, well, what can I do? The main thing that I can do is be very successful at this.
Yeah.
So somebody else can come in.
So just to correct you, I don't think that I did get you to go to that event. I think it was your wife. So
okay. Look, see, you found a way to bring her into this. Okay, so yes. All right. She drank the Kool-Aid a lot earlier than I did because she could tell the changes, one, in the bank account, right? But two, in my personality and how I was looking at it and how many families I was able to help. Those kind of things that she was like, look, Josh hasn't steered you wrong. If he says you need to go to Boca, you need to go to Boca. I said, well, honey, I just bought all these leads. I did this, I did that. I just paid this bill. She goes, we could either figure out a way for you to get to Boca Raton and spend that little money now so that it can exponentially help our family in the future. That's her talking to me. She's the roughest sales manager I had. Josh just says stuff and I'm dumb enough to repeat it to her. And then she's like, okay, this is what we got to do. And she's like, look, this is what I'm going to tell you that she's already talked about getting her life insurance license. She's, looking at different things. She's like, look, if we work this as a team, this is what we can do. And, I told you about this and this hit me hard. We started having some success with this. And she said, don't let me dream again and take this away from me, right? She's dreaming so hard. She's already talked about, okay, when we open the agency, this is what we're going to do. And this is what I'm like, whoa. And that's when I was just helping 10 families, right? But having the buy-in of your family is just amazing, And like I said, she's pushed me further. Going to North Carolina to go to the Living Hope Conference, going to Boca Raton. This is out of my comfort zone. For the past 3 years, I've been in my office at my home, just taking calls and making phone calls. And now I'm actually out and talking and meeting people. So yeah, it's crazy.
That's good stuff. So if you want to have a top producer and they have a spouse, sell the spouse and then they'll
sell the spouse.
Get it done. All right. So, something that I've kind of, seen getting into word tracks and actually what you do on the phone. I don't know if there was an exact period, but I saw a shift because, we're always on live dials together. Sometimes late at night, we're like the only two on sometimes. Right. But I saw a shift where you went from hey, I'm trying to sell this person insurance to like, I'm just the underwriter. And some of the things that you say have been really, really good. And well, I'm going to kind of bring them up. And I don't know if you know which ones I'm going to bring up, but talk to me about that. Like, what was the mindset shift of when you started like actually submitting business? I'm just the underwriter. What were you kind of saying before and after? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, okay. Like, so I could tell you where there's been some shifts in what I say. Okay. One thing that I definitely changed, because I used to be, when I first started, it was, hey, this is Quentin, happy go lucky, sales guy. Hello, how you doing? Living Hope Conference. Kasha, what's Kasha's last name?
Stanuski.
Yeah,
We just 30K
she's up
Kasha.
there. Yeah, Kasha. Awesome, awesome. If you can watch anything with Kasha on it, she was one of the first FFL YouTubes I saw. She had done helped 20 families. And they asked her, it was Sean Mike asked her, how do you start your call? And she just says, Sean. And I'm like, that's not what I do. And I was like, okay, well, that seems kind of boring, but hey, she's on the stage and I'm sitting here. Try it. Right? I heard I'm just the underwriter from Jamie Cheerio on a live dial. Hey, I'm just the underwriter and all they have me do. And I'm listening to you. And you sound like you don't care you're on the phone. And I said, what I'm doing is I'm trying to sell this person. Instead, I need to just pretend, Candy says, pretend you're a social worker in your head, right? None of my stuff is original from me. It's taking it all from you guys. I'm just grabbing all of it to get there. And that's when I just started, hey, I'm the underwriter. Hi, hey, this is Quentin Kelley from the Benefits Center. I'm just a medical underwriter for the state that's coming out, that's here to talk to you about this request you put in. And people are like, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I did that. Okay, can go. I say, I used to say, will you please go get a pen and paper? Oh, I don't have a pen and paper around me. Grab a pen so we can get this over with. Hold on a second.
And that tonality too, like that,
Yeah.
like when you said that, the first one was like, hey, very accommodating. The second one was like, do this, and I don't have a lot of time. Like that's what it sounded like.
I heard the one of the FFL ones with the guy, all he does is live transfers. I can't think of his name now, but he said, when I get my live transfers, I almost want to sound like they're bothering me because I'm in the middle of something else. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going to reverse everything I thought about sales on the phone to just, I'm here to help you fill out this order form. I'm not, I'm just here to make sure you find the right company and make sure you get the application done right the first time. That's all I'm here to do,
Now, something that you said, we were on live dials a couple nights ago, and something that, I was listening to you, and you were going through, and you end up enrolling this lady. And if anybody's out there and you're sitting there, whether you're in the home or on telesales, and you're entering in the application or you're doing quotes, right? So you took down the inventory, however you do, and there's that transition time from I just fill out the inventory and I'm figuring out what I'm going to quote, right? And we kind of, a lot of people, it's like, hey, we'll start with America and we'll do this or that. But sometimes, especially when there's a lot of health situations going on, it's kind of like a puzzle and you're trying to figure it out all at once. And something that you were saying, and it was almost, and I loved it because it was almost like you weren't quoting her, right? Quentin wasn't quoting her, you were just punching it in and you were just seeing who the best is, right? Which a lot of times when you're talking to somebody, you'll say things like, agents will say things like, well, hey, Quentin, I represent XYZ company. I represent all these carriers. And what the prospect hears is, well, those are the carriers that you represent, but I'm going to think about it and I'm going to go talk to the next guy to see who he represents. When you use I statements, I represent them, I can do this, I can do that. Instead, you said, well, hey, I'm just putting it in to see which carrier comes back the best. And so you guys were kind of sitting there. It was kind of quiet because you were typing, she was listening, and you go, okay, looks like this carrier is coming back. And I think you started giving her the quotes even, and something changed. Maybe it was a medication that you found out and that changed the whole thing. I can't remember the exact thing, but then you said, "Oh, it looks like XYZ company just came back a little bit better. We're going with this." And I was like, "Oh, that's so good. That's so good." Because
Yeah.
in the prospect's mind, they're just going to be like, a better deal. Like it wasn't you doing it, it was like the system doing it almost. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to do it like that. I use a program. I don't know if we're allowed to say what program that I use.
Yeah. That's fine.
I'm new at this, guys. I'm telling you. All right. So Candy had told me about the insurance toolkits, right? And so she's like, it's a must-have when you're doing telesales or whatever. So I'll be putting it in, and when I was putting it in, they'll give me certain prescriptions that they have, and a lot of stuff will come up. But then sometimes you almost have to say, and if there's one more thing you could think of, what else might be on your counter? Oh, yeah, I have this. All right, cool. I never make it, I'm never like, man, but I will make them realize you didn't tell me this, it's going to affect something, right? And then I'll go, hey, look, this came up. I think they would be great because of such and such, right? So yeah, that's the best way, like you were just saying, is to go about it. Is I'm just entering it in. I was talking to a lady the other day, and she goes, "Oh," and this was great. She goes, "Oh, you don't work for them, you work for me." And I said, "Exactly." And
Okay.
she goes,
So now that
"Yeah."
you brought that up, right? What's the word track? I've heard you say it a few times. You almost like, I kind of feel like it sounds like you're almost talking to them like they're your kid and you're like scolding them, but you'll say something to the effect of like, "Hey, make sure to be honest with me so I can advocate for you." What's that? I've heard you say
Oh,
that a bunch.
you know what? I usually have my script in front of me, and I did not bring it in front of me this time. But I will say, hey, look, my responsibility is just to make sure once we get all the quotes and everything, and I'm like, look, I'm gonna advocate for you with the companies, but it's my responsibility to know everything. So you got to be upfront with me, because if I have a surprise or a hiccup, it's gonna slow me down and it's gonna lessen my chance of being approved. So I need you to go ahead and tell me everything up front, so that way I can, when I have to talk to them about it, I can explain and say, they take this because of this. They take this because of this, because each medication, they're using them now for 3 or 4 different things. And they're like, yeah, that's true. I'm like, all right, so what do you take? And when they tell me, and I'm like, okay, this particular thing here could be used for high blood pressure, but it also could be used for congestive heart failure. Oh, have you ever had congestive heart failure? I'm like, I'm not going to be the person that approves or declines you, but I can fight for you if you tell me the truth. Allow me to advocate for you. Just tell me everything so I know the whole story.
And that's really good, because I feel like, especially when you're newer, or maybe you have a very accommodating personality type, you want to be nice and you want to be friendly, and that spills over into not being upfront, not being straightforward, and then you put applications in that get denied, or all kinds of things can happen. So that's just some things that I've actually been listening to you. I thought that were really good.
Well, I'd heard this one time. They said it's harder for a person to say no to a professional than it is their friend. So if you become their friend before everything is closed, they could easily say, well, you get why I have to wait, right? You understand why. But if you're the professional and you're like, here's the next step, here's the next step, here's the next step. And there's so many times I want to be friendly, but I know it's going to lessen my chance, not just me getting helping a family out or getting a commission, but they need life insurance. I do a lot of final expense, okay? If you're 65 years old, still just calling me now for life insurance, you procrastinate. I have got to get you down the road so you get to the final part of this, because if you don't, there's a family that's going to have to pay for your life insurance because I wasn't professional enough Sorry, I'm getting excited. You get me pumped. But I wasn't professional enough to help them get down the line and sign that dotted line.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when that mindset comes in, I don't mind being hard until we get to the end. And I'll be shocked. You'll be shocked. The person that I'm not saying being rude. I don't say be, just egregious with a person, but I'm saying at the end, 9 times out of 10, they'll say, Quentin, thanks for getting me through that. I'm so glad I got this done with. And it's not that when people are holding you up, it's not because they don't want it. They're afraid they're not going to get approved. They've been told so many different prices. There's so many different things that we have to, as professionals, they filled out, Sean says it all the time. They filled out the form knowing 30 people are about to call them. They know it. I understand you think it's rude that we call you all towards the day, but you knew that when you filled it out. Now that I'm here and you've talked to all the salespeople and telemarketers, me as the medical underwriter, I'm going to be the one that takes care of you. We understand that? Okay, great.
Okay, good. So a couple quick questions here, right? So lead types. What kind of lead types you been running?
I particularly love Facebook leads, but that's because, okay, I do a lot of final expense. Facebook leads, I know they have a general idea of how to use technology. They have an email address. They understand how to get text messages, which helps me with certain carriers that lean towards text messaging and email, right?
Yeah.
So that means that I know they have that. To most Facebook ones that I use, such as Bang Bang Leads. Am I allowed to say names of companies?
Yeah.
Okay. Bang Bang Leads, TTC Leads. Those two are my favorite to run. I get age leads. I love age leads. I'll tell you, because it's all you've got through the flurry of people that have done all the calls and stuff. Now the people you're going to get on the phone is the people who said no, and they regretted it, or they just weren't home, or somebody gave them a quote, they said they liked it, and the person never called them back, or they just filled out another form yesterday, right? That someone paid $30, $40, $50, $60 for.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're like, oh, I just put that in the mail yesterday.
Yeah.
You get it done.
So all right. So you helped 30 families this past month.
Yeah.
On average, what would you say, like how many dials did you make in a day? Because you're doing one call, one closes.
Yeah, I do one call, one closes, because what I found was I'm not good about getting back with the people. I'm still working on time management. And then also the people weren't good about getting back with me. So one call closes worked great for me. Got them on the phone. Let's go. So as far as what was the question? Sorry.
Like how many dials? Like on an average day when you're
average
sit down to
dials
work?
a day. It depends on the lead types I've got that time. Okay, with their Facebook leads, it's a lot less calls. So it might be 40 or 50 calls in a day, because I'll get a lot more of them on the phone. Okay. The lead comes in, I give them a call, and I'm like, hey, you said your favorite hobby was reading in your favorite easy chair. I didn't do that. How would I know about your easy chair? That's exactly, you hear me? That's exactly, how would I know? Like that face I just made, like one eye open, like, I already know. Like I'm almost messed up when they say, yeah, I did that. Because then I don't know where to go from there. Like pauses me. I'm like, what the heck? But yeah, about 40 or 50 calls if it's Facebook leads. Okay. Fresh, hot off the press is Facebook leads. Okay. Now it's different when I bought CRM leads. I just bought, because they had that big sale, 600 3-month-old leads. It's a whole different ball game with that.
Nope.
All right. This is my mindset when I buy CRM leads. Some people love these CRM leads. I mean, they do CRM leads. I live by them. Okay, great. I don't know how, but this is how I do it. I've got 600 leads here. 10 families are going to be willing to say, yes, I did that. All I have to do is find it. call. That could be 500 calls in a day. That could be 500 calls in a day. Okay. So, and I make sure that I try to get through that list as fast as I possibly can. Because one of the things you taught me was I could get $500 worth of leads, right? And make them stretch out for the month and sell 5 or 6. Or I could get that $500 in leads and get in contact with all the people within a week. Now they're praising you for having 6 families in a week, right? So why stretch it out? Compact time as much as you can. So on an average day though, 200 to 300, because there's other things that I do as well. But when I first get those leads, it's 500. Let's roll. Let's go. If it's Facebook leads, 40 or 50.
Last question. Tell me about the circles on the paper.
Okay. I didn't want to share this because this is my patented system, but I should have brought the sheet because I actually took it on vacation with me in case I decided to make some calls. Okay. So at the top, what I do is I make a decision because Josh had this conversation with me. He goes, "Hey, last month you helped 9 families." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Let's not do that again." I said, "All right, so let's figure out how we're going to do that again, right?" And then I went to the integrity meeting. Can I share this last story real quick?
For sure.
Okay, so we go to the integrity meeting. Someone raises their hand. They're asking the guy a question, and he goes, "How many people do you have to recruit to find a good person?" And he goes, "Well, what do you consider a good agent?" He goes, "I don't know. They help 10 families a month. And I hope this doesn't hurt anybody's feelings at all. Okay. But maybe I do because it hurt mine." He goes, 10 families? He goes, "My dog could help 10 families a month." He goes, "I could put the lead card on their head and walk them up to the door and someone would go, 'Yes, I want this 10 families a month.'" He goes, "You're not looking for good agents if you're looking for 10 families a month." And I said, well, at that point, I had this thing in my head. I called it the doghouse. I got to get out of the doghouse, right? So here's how that works. I put 40 circles. Well, I had 30 circles on this one, right? So I had 30 circles I put at the top of a sheet. So 3 rows of 10, right? And then I listed out about 30 slots, right? On a page. So 10, 10, and 10. And then I say, okay, what I want to do is get these circles filled as fast as I possibly can. Okay. And each circle represents a family. When I help a family out, then I fill in the circle, but not till then. And it changed the way that I looked at things. Because before, I would help one family and I'm calling Josh, I'm telling my wife, I'm calling people at the last practice company. I'm like, "You gotta come. Let me tell you this story." That's great. That's awesome. But none of them are going to help you get another circle filled out, right? And it got my mindset in a place where I wasn't trying to make the commission, right? It was about the mission. And the mission is to help 30 families out this month. So I would fill in the circle and Josh would call me, and next to each name, I would put what the families it represented beside it, right? So I knew how much I submitted. I knew, Josh would call me up. "Hey, how's everything going?" "Hey, Josh, I can't talk to you real, man. I got another family to help today. What you need, Josh?" Before it was like, "Hey, Josh, let me tell you how wonderful today was." "Well, what'd you do after that?" "Oh, I was helping and playing with the kids." No. So now when I'm looking at this, I had a goal of where I needed to be. And so with those goals and knowing where I needed the chart to be at, it helped me hit my 30 families that I needed. I helped more families than I ever did. It was just amazing. The leads were coming through. And I'll tell this last thing, at the integrity meeting, there's a lady there that helped 100 families in 1 month, which I thought was like, how? But once the mind's expanded, can't go back, right? So I asked her, I said, "What do I do? How do I get to where you are?" She said, "You have to have so many leads running in that you're nervous that you can catch them all. And you have to do everything you got to do to catch them as they're coming in." And I was like, "Oh, I can't do that." I did it. I did it, and anybody watching this, I know I don't want to go over. Y'all gonna have to chop this up 100 times to make it fit on YouTube. I even kick you off. Run it like a business. Order the leads. That's I was sitting at a restaurant. I said somebody had to pay money for the restaurant. Someone had to pay for the tables. Somebody had to pay for advertising before they made $1. If they were trying to stretch $500 to open that restaurant, I wouldn't be eating this delicious, what was I having? It was some kind of, it was a rib bucket. It wasn't healthy, but I couldn't eat it if someone didn't have the vision to have this particular restaurant here, right? So that's how I'm looking at this now, is understanding that I'm running a business, not trying to be the best salesperson. Does that make sense? Yep.
That's good, man. That's good. Lead flow is cash flow. You heard it here. So Quentin, man. This was a good conversation. This was fun for me. I enjoyed it. I hope somebody got something out of it. And hey, for everybody out there, you guys keep crushing. Have a great week. We'll be back next week. Take care for now.
Take care.